Story time about how I exposed my abusive, toxic boyfriend. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. My boyfriend is and has always been very charming. He has a ton of friends and everyone loves him. He's a very good-looking guy and girls are always chasing him. I met him 2 years ago at a party. I had heard a bunch of stuff about him. I heard that he was a player and that he cheated on all of his girlfriends. So when he came up to me at the party, I was really cold. I basically told him I didn't want to talk to him and that I would never give him my number. And unfortunately, this made him try even harder. He could never take no for an answer. He spent an hour trying to convince me to go to have breakfast with him the next day. He was so charming and so good looking. Of course, I eventually said yes. Even a few of his guy friends at the party told me not to go. But of course, I ended up going with him to breakfast the next day. We hung out a few times and then he told me that he liked that I wasn't easy. He told me that I was different from other girls and he asked me to be his girlfriend. I said yes because I was starting to catch feelings. One night we went out with his friends and he started calling me stupid in front of them. So we went out with his friends one night and he started calling me stupid in front of them. He had never done this before and I was really surprised. I thought maybe he was just doing it to impress his guy friends. That's when I asked him straight up in front of his friends why he kept calling me stupid. One of his friends steps up and says, "Yeah, why do you keep calling her stupid?" He stayed quiet for a second and didn't know what to say. Then he just laughed it off and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was doing that." That's when his friends started asking me questions about myself. I told them I was studying to be an engineer and that I had graduated with top honors. Well, let's just say they were all super impressed. We finally got into his car and he was driving me home. I was upset at him, so I decided not to give him a kiss goodnight. I started getting out of the car and he grabbed my wrist really hard. He pulled me back into the car and forcefully kissed me. He said that I embarrassed him in front of his friends, but that he'd give me a pass for it. I was actually in shock. A few weeks later, we were at the mall and he pulled my hair because he said I was looking at some guy. I tried to get up and leave and he wouldn't let me. So at the mall, he pulled my hair back because he thought I was looking at a guy. Then I tried to get up from the table, but he wouldn't let me. That's when he said he was going to have to control me more from now on because clearly I was trying to look for other guys. Then he dropped me off at my dorm room and insisted on coming up. I told him I didn't want him to and that we should reconsider the relationship. I told him he needed to cool off and reconsider how he treated me. That's when he started to cry instantly. He started apologizing and told me that I was right. Then he told me that he loved me. We hadn't used that word before. I didn't realize at the time that he was totally manipulating me. And unfortunately, I decided to give him another chance. A few days later, he asked me why I didn't tell him I loved him back. I told him I just wasn't sure. Then he started yelling at me, telling me that there were so many girls ready for him to be single, and that he had a girl text him every single night, but he would say no just because of me. So I told him I loved him. After that, he was a lot nicer, until one night he slapped me. One night he took me out to dinner and started asking me all these weird questions. He wanted to know about my last ex and why we broke up, and when I didn't give him enough information, he got really angry. When we got in his car, he slapped me and told me that I was a liar. After that, he just got worse. He would randomly just push me up against a wall if I annoyed him. He would constantly take my cell phone and start checking it. He even made me give him the password to my email. I decided that I was going to start recording all the abuse. I started recording all of our conversations and even set up a camera in my room. And of course, I had all this proof. One day I finally told him I didn't want to be with him anymore and he threatened me. I also told him that I was going to go to the police. Then he told me I would never be able to leave him and that no one would believe me because he never left bruises. That's when he started stalking me. He would also show up at my apartment and try to force his way in. He would grab me and try to kiss me and I would just push him away. So I finally went to the police. And I also went to the head of the school. I finally got a restraining order and the school expelled him. If you've experienced any of this, please get out of your relationship. Don't make my mistake.
I hope you're ready for the grossest story time you will ever hear in your entire freaking life. Let me just wipe off this here pimple cream. When I tell y'all that the people who live above me are insane, it's like a woman, her kid, and then they have like two like bear-sized dogs, apparently. This is when you know your nails are too sharp. So she also has a boyfriend who comes over like 2-3 times a week. And you're probably like, Chelsea, how do you know all this? Are you a stalker? When her boyfriend comes over, they literally scream at each other and fight until like 3 a.m. every single time. And also he apparently looks like an ugly version of T.I. A lot of this stuff I find out from the maintenance guy. We're pretty cool. Also, I'm gonna do the spoon trend today. I'm scared. Oh my gosh. Okay, I also held the spoon like this and then blended and doing the backwards smoky eye. I don't even know what it's called. Not me doing 2 trends in one video. Anyways, back to my neighbors. So these people literally get domestic violence calls all the time. I call security on them at least 3 times a week. They're literally screaming at each other as we speak. So one day I'm just coming home from work, minding my own business. I walk into my bathroom to pee, and there's liquid sprayed everywhere, all over my walls, my floor, my toilet, my bathtub, everything. So immediately I just like am thinking my toilet like exploded or something, I don't know. So I start cleaning it up, Swiffering and you know, whatever, and I realize it's not water, it's urine. My shower curtains are soaked. So I start screaming for my roommate to come into my bathroom to investigate the situation with me. And just to kind of give you an idea, the pee smelled so bad that we literally didn't think it was human pee. We literally thought it was dog pee. That's how bad it smelled, just to give you an idea. So we come to the conclusion that the pee is coming from my light in my ceiling, or like the sprinkler that was right next to it. I don't know, but basically it was raining urine in my bathroom. So we obviously put in a maintenance request like immediately. And one of the maintenance guys actually came literally that night. And he's like, oh yeah, it's for sure coming from upstairs. So he's like, let me try and go upstairs and talk to them. I'll be right back. He comes back down like 2 seconds later and he's like, yeah, I can't go in there because nobody's home. Like, no one was answering and their dogs are too big and too scary for him to go in there without them home. So he's basically like, yeah, we're gonna have to try again tomorrow. At this point, my entire bathroom is literally empty. And this was happening probably twice a day where it would literally just like leak pee from my ceiling. I'm like showering in my roommate's shower. And we're just sitting here and we're just like, are they like locking their dog in the bathroom and it's like peeing on the floor and like leaking into my bathroom? Like, I don't know what's going on. So this went on for days because they couldn't get into the apartment because they were never answering the door. Meanwhile, my bathroom is literally inside my room, so you can imagine how wonderful my bedroom smelled. So then one night, me and my roommate are at the movies and we're about to go into the theater. I get a call from the maintenance guy. He tells me that he finally got into their apartment because as he was going up to the door, she was entering her apartment. So he was like, yeah, it's the toilet. I was like, oh, the toilet's clogged. He's like, Chelsea, that's an understatement. He was like, I would tell you what's in this toilet, but I don't want to ruin your day. So he's like, Chelsea, I would tell you what's in this toilet, but I don't want to ruin your day. And I was like, what? What's in this toilet? Basically, he told me that every time that they were flushing the toilet, it was leaking down into my bathroom, which would make sense because like, you know, a couple times a day. But I'm just like, how do you leave your toilet clogged for that long? So he basically told me that he's calling the plumber and he's going to come first thing tomorrow. No need to worry. Everything's great. Meanwhile, I've like bleached my entire bathroom. I've cleaned everything there is to clean, but you know, my entire room smells like urine. So the plumber comes the next day. I actually heard him because I was off that day. I heard him upstairs like going in on that toilet. He was using like every single tool you could ever imagine. It literally sounded like Noah building the ark up there. So even after I knew that he had fixed it, I still waited like a couple of days before I put everything in my bathroom because I was just like so scarred from all of my stuff being peed on. And then they ended up sending a bunch of like other maintenance guys to literally cut out an entire hole in my ceiling of my bathroom and like clean everything, give me new drywall, and then like put the ceiling back. It was just like a whole thing. I don't know. And like, I wish that they would have offered for someone to come and clean my stuff for me. That would have been really nice. But also I'm kind of like, I'm glad that I cleaned it myself because I just don't trust people like that. Anyways, my bathroom is back to being cute, but yeah. But anyways, here's my pink contacts and I'm kind of living for this. I feel like I'm like a pink Power Ranger, but like Barbie. What do you guys think? Also, does anyone else have like horrible upstairs neighbors or is it just me? Let me know some horror stories down below. Also, go follow me on Instagram because I'm going to do a huge makeup giveaway at 10K. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that again.
My biological 12-year-old daughter, Susan, likes to collect and read old children's books. She used to have problems with reading and learning before, and we were advised to encourage her to read more. Ever since she started reading, which she does regularly, her skills have improved. She also reads to her 2-year-old sister every night. I have a 16-year-old stepson, Levi, who can be a hothead sometimes. We don't have a close relationship, but I respect him and he respects me, though he can act quite mean and selfish towards me and his sisters. He throws away stuff that belongs to us over small arguments and teases Susan for spending a lot of time reading, calling her a grandma. My wife and I discussed his behavior and agreed on punishments, but Levi would go to his dad's place whenever he causes trouble, then have his dad yell at me for wanting to discuss a suitable punishment. Then Levi comes home days later expecting me to let go of what he did every time, and it's frustrating. I got a call at work from Susan saying Levi took her entire book collection and threw them in the pool after she refused to lend him and his friends her camera for his trip. My wife helped get them out, but they were wet and some were torn. It was horrific because some of those books are hard to get and meant a lot to Susan as part of her life. I was so mad at Levi I came home to have a conversation with my wife to decide on a punishment, but he had already packed a small bag and went to his dad's. I asked my wife how she could let him basically run after doing this, and she said that he called his dad and he came to pick him up after Susan said that I was coming home to deal with the problem. When I went to his dad's house, he refused to let me see him. I told him how Levi was hiding from consequences and his dad tried to justify why Levi was acting out by blaming me for how me and Susan treat him. He even said he'd get CPS involved if I ever try to punish him because I'm not his biological parent and I have no right. He also added that what Levi did was a reaction to my daughter being mean to him. He told me to leave because Levi won't come home until I promise not to do anything about it and put it in writing. That's when I told him that Levi should stay there with him then. He's not to come back until he gets a proper punishment. His dad argued it's his mom's house too and called my wife. She asked me to let it go and we find another resolution, but I don't think it's fair to Susan to have her books ruined and Levi getting away with it. They're asking me to let it go, but this will only encourage Levi to do worse if I don't deal with it now. It's now been 2 weeks and my in-laws say that I was out of line for banning Levi from coming home and are telling me to take a step back, but I refused. I've arranged for family therapy, but Levi's dad refused to let him go. In the past, his dad has caused issues when I used to take Levi's electronics as a punishment. Then I got talked out of punishing him every time he did something unacceptable, whether it was to me or his sisters. Am I wrong for refusing to let him come home without punishment? My biological mother died giving birth to me. When I was 4, my dad married my stepmom. I've always called her mom and I love her so much. She's super smart, successful, confident, and beautiful. I always wanted to be like her when I got older. I'm not great in school and I struggle to remember to do chores. I also get distracted easily and sometimes fight with my siblings. I've really struggled even though I want to do good. My older stepbrother gets straight A's though, and my mom is proud of that. Last night, I couldn't fall asleep. It was really late and I went to go get something to drink when I heard my parents arguing. I know it's wrong, but they never fight, so I listened in. My stepmom was basically complaining about my grades and saying that I'm not good enough. My dad told her that I was improving, went from failing to B's and C's. She said it wasn't good enough comparing me to my stepbrother. My dad essentially said that some kids find it easier and that I've been trying really hard. And I have. I've been studying and trying to pay attention even when it's boring. I study more than him even though I get worse grades, and it's all because I wanted to meet her standards. She said it wasn't enough and that my dad was being soft on me. He got annoyed and said that I'm studying a lot more than my brother and a teenager needs some time to relax, but she didn't agree. Apparently, I shouldn't relax if I'm not doing well enough to deserve it. My stepmom went on to say that I'm a selfish, entitled brat and that my dad needs to step up and teach me better. She said it's bad enough that I suck at school, but I can't even do housework right. She said that their children, my stepbrother and half siblings, are doing great and well behaved. It's just his daughter that's a screw up. I honestly admired her so much, so hearing all of this shattered me. I love my dad and I was glad he was proud and defending me, but I really loved her. I considered her as my mother and my role model. My dad got angry at her and kept defending me, saying how much I love and admire her, so she should be proud of me and love me the way he does. However, she said that she raised me because I was his daughter and that she had to. She continued saying that I'm lucky, that I'm pretty because I won't amount to anything just like my biological mother. After this, I didn't listen anymore. My dad was in a bad mood today but didn't tell us why. I just cried in my bed. I wanted to be like her, but I'm just a failure in her eyes and she doesn't even see me as a daughter. She acts so kind and caring towards me but said all those terrible things. Am I doing something wrong even though I've been trying my best? Recently, my 54-year-old dad and my 52-year-old mom have divorced. This wasn't a surprise to me though. However, a week after the divorce was finalized, my father got a new girlfriend named Sophia who's 26. I wasn't mad, but I felt like it was a little too soon. At the end of the day though, it's not my business, but I told my dad I couldn't accept her as my new stepmother as it was too soon and she was only 2 years older than me. He said this was okay, but he hopes in the future I can come around to it. Eventually, my 3-year-old twins met my dad's girlfriend and they didn't like her. They were asking me stuff like who is she and other questions. After she noticed my kids' favoritism towards their biological grandmother, she yelled at me and told me I was raising my kids wrong because they don't treat her like that. I calmly told her that they would eventually come around, but she wouldn't listen and kicked me out of my dad's house. A few weeks later, my husband and I found out that I was pregnant. We wanted to wait a while to tell my family, and at the next family dinner, I told everyone the news. Everyone was happy for me and my husband, but especially my dad's girlfriend. Keep in mind, she still hadn't apologized for her outburst, and I still felt like I couldn't accept her, so when she started saying things such as, I can't wait for my grandbaby, I felt a little uncomfortable, but assumed she just liked babies. That was until she decided that if it was a girl, then we would call her Elia after her grandmother, or if it was a boy, then Samuel after her granddad. I flat out told her no as I had never met them, and she blew up in anger. She said I never took in consideration her ideas and that she wishes my stupid baby wasn't even born. I stormed out and messaged my dad saying that I decided I wouldn't let her see me, my kids, or my baby until she apologizes. I've gotten many angry texts from her and her friends since then. One of her friends even told me what she told them, and it turns out she flipped the whole story around. Am I in the wrong?